What I want to talk about is day twos. Not the sexiest topic, not, pulling, dragging the bitch home, taking her to the bathroom, but for most guys, it is the thing that will get you laid more than anything else, being good at day twos. All right, following up on your numbers actually and being good at day twos. Really, game comes down to logistics almost more than anything else. And so if you can get alone with a girl, that's half the battle. So getting a girl on a day two is a massive, massive step towards getting it to sex. So it's a very positive thing to be doing, taking these day twos, getting the girl one-on-one where she doesn't have friends dragging her away. She doesn't have all these objections, where she's scheduled some time where she can actually spend it with you. All right, so it's a pretty ideal situation, but let's learn how to get good at it. This is like the equivalent in basketball to you could try and learn to shoot three-pointers or half-court shots or do crazy behind-the-back dunks and stuff like that. But really, fundamental basketball, learn to hit your layups. Learn to close the easy ones. Learn to close the ones you're supposed to close first, and then all the other stuff will come. So day twos are that. That's your layup. That's your fucking bread and butter, especially as you get good. When I first started, I think I slept with 25, 30 girls before I even got my first same night late, but I was just very persistent. I'd follow up, I'd get numbers, I'd call them until they told me to fucking stop calling them, and then I'd get them out on day twos. And at first I sucked, but over time I've become very, very good at it. And that's what I'm gonna share with you today, is what I've done to be good at day twos, what I've done to have a very, very high close rate on dates. So there are a few factors that will be important in your success rate on dates. Probably the biggest thing though is logistics. You need to get them back to your place. Early on when I was dating, I would do a lot of dates where I would meet these girls at public places, random halfway between them and me, that sort of thing. Never fucking works, especially if you drive two separate cars. She gets to the end of the date, it's gone pretty well. Maybe you've even made out with her, it's going well. And then you get to a point where it's time to go home. And now it's awkward, because now she lives 30 minutes this way, you live 30 minutes that way. You have a car in the middle, what the fuck, right? Is she gonna drive to your place and then drive double the pace back? Are you gonna drive to her place and then go back? Or are you gonna do it on a day three? Are you gonna let it go stale, go cold, lose that momentum, have to build again from scratch and start all over? And also, maybe almost more importantly, you're gonna put it in that dating frame where she now expects you to date her over and over and over and take her out on multiple dates and court her and have a boyfriendy relationship with her, right? And then she's gonna hold out sex because she doesn't wanna be that kind of girl, right? So much better to have that opportunity on the day two. So for me, my rule now, I will only accept day twos that are logistically within a range where I can get them back to my house or get them back to a sex location. That's it. If I can't get that, I don't want the day two. The only time I will make an exception on that is if the girl offers to pay. If the girl will pay for me, okay, I'll do it, because now I don't have any risk. There's no skin in the game for me. So I've even said that to girls. Well, I'll suggest, hey, do you want to come to my area? Let's grab a drink, etc. And they'll be like, well, no, I can't do it. Can we do this area? I'll be like, well, listen, typically the way I work is if I'm the guy, you come to me and then I take care of you. And so if you want to be the man in this relationship, I can come to you and you can take care of me, but I really actually prefer to be the man within the relationship, so that's what it is. So that's one way you can do it. That's one way you can frame it. In any case, if you are going to have that happen, at least if you're going to go meet them at their place, pick them up if you can, or make sure that you know the logistics and make sure you're very, very close to where they're staying and you actually can get back into somewhere where sex can go down. Again, it's much, much easier if it's your place, because you don't need to be invited into your place. You can just walk through the door and have them follow you, which we'll talk about in a bit. Whereas if it's their place, then obviously you need to actually get the invite in, and it's much more of a pain in the ass. So better near your place, at the very least near her place. Definitely not in the middle. Never, never, never in the middle where you can't meet up. And also, make sure you know the driving situation, make sure you know the car situation, make sure there's a feasible way for you to get back somewhere. Jeff does this very, very expertly when he does his day twos in San Francisco. He will find out if the girl's driving. If she's driving, he'll get dropped off or take a cab. If she's not driving, he'll drive. He'll make sure that there's exactly one car involved. Now, ideally, if you can do it, it's even better to have no cars involved if you can find a place within walking distance. In fact, I would prefer on a day two to go to a shitty, divey place that's within walking distance of me than to drive to a really nice place. For actually two reasons. One, expense, right? I don't want to go on expensive day twos. I go on way the fuck too many of them, right? Even if I'm spending $20 or $30 on a day two and that's it, well, I could be going on potentially 2 a day. So that's what, 14 a week at 20? That becomes very expensive very, very quickly. So I want to keep the cost down. That's number one reason. Number two, because logistics are so much more important than ambiance, right? I trust myself. And in fact, I don't want the girl if she just wants me for logistics. She just wants me for the fact that like that the place was nice. Fuck that. I want a girl who wants me for me. So I want to go to a place that's close to me, convenient for me to get back, and that's it. And I trust my game. I trust that if a girl spends time with me, she will want to fuck me, period. That's the whole thing. The whole point of a day 2 to me is I'm basically putting a girl in a situation where she's gonna spend a few hours with me. She's gonna spend a period of hours with me, and if she spends that time, she has to like me. Why? Because I'm a naturally attractive person that spent 12 years getting good at this. Of course she's gonna like me. Why wouldn't she? So that's it. Trust yourself. Don't try and like bribe the girl. Don't try and wine and dine dates. In fact, when I used to do online, I had this line on my profile that says, I don't do dates, never have, never will. I do rendezvous and drinks though, right? And girls are asked like, what is this? I don't do dates. What are you talking about? What's a date to you? And the quote I came up with was, let's see if I can remember it. A date is a means by which pathetic men attempt to sleep with girls they don't deserve by utilization of bribery and lies. Right? I mean, that's pretty like dark, right? It's a pretty harsh description of dating, but that's how I typically view the typical date. The typical go court the girl, go take her to dinner, that kind of shit, right? It's a pretty shitty arrangement. It puts all the power in the girl's court. It's this whole like, oh, he's gonna shower me with gifts, and then at the end of the night, I'm gonna decide whether to give him a kiss goodnight. Fuck that. Get as far out of that frame as possible. I've been reading a book on rhetoric. There's this idea of what they call phatic communication. The idea of like if you start an interaction with a handshake, it's now a business meeting. If you start it with a kiss on the cheek, it's now friendly, that sort of thing. There's an implied communication to a setting. If you take a girl to a fancy dinner, you're putting in the phatic communication of I'm gonna court you. This is a dating setting. If you take a girl for a casual drink or just take her for a stroll on the beach, it's more of a friendly, just hang out setting. And so there aren't those rules and restrictions. There isn't that implication of what's to come and how it's going to unfold, and it doesn't put you in that frame, which is that traditional frame of girl is better than guy, guy must try hard, guy must win girl over, which is a frame you want to avoid at all costs in all forms of game. So stay far away from that. So don't take girls on expensive dates, don't take girls on dates far away from your house, okay? That shit's for girls you're already dating. That's it. And that's only if you enjoy it, even with girls you're already dating. Don't even do it with them if you don't want to, all right? Live the life you want to live. And for me, I just want it easy. Now, there is a difference between the best possible date and what I actually do in practice. What do I do in practice? I take girls for cheap drinks near me, and I do it over and over again. I do it many, many times a week, and I run through lots and lots of numbers, and I sleep with lots of girls. That's what I do in practice. If I wanted to do the perfect date, I'll tell you the best date I've ever come up with, and there's a reason why I tell you after. Best date I ever came up with was bringing girls along with me to Krav Maga class. For those of you who don't know, Krav Maga is an Israeli martial art, and it's brutal. It's like street fighting. I once asked a Krav Maga instructor, if you were to teach someone only one technique, what would you focus on? He'd say, I don't know, it's between biting and eye gouging. Okay, it's a brutal martial art. It's based on Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Sambo and all this other shit, but it's brutal. It's meant for street fighting, and it's meant to be like nasty. So I'd take girls to the Krav Maga class, and I was in like level 3 of like Krav Maga. I'd take them to like a level 1 class, and they'd walk in, I'd tell them wear something you can work out in. And they'd wear like these little like pink terry cloth shorts and like little like midriff shirts and shit like that, which is awesome. So they show up in this like girly workout attire, and they see everybody else with like hand wraps like banging away at like the heavy bag, and like, holy fuck, what have I gotten into? And then I am their leader in that situation. I'm leading the interaction. I am their source of comfort and support. I'm their source of certainty. So I show them how to throw a punch without breaking their wrist. I work with them on all the exercises. The first time I kick the pad when they're holding it, they fly backwards 5 feet. So now me as like a 5'8" little guy, I'm like the big strong man, right? I went to a class that was less advanced than what I normally go to. So the teacher would single me out and have me be the good example. I'd be the one that has it together. I'm the one that's smooth and fluid and together. So it's just this huge demonstration of higher value for me. And it's very primal for the girl. The girl goes from being terrified and confused and lost to having the release of like grunting as she pounds a bag. So it's very primal. In any case, pretty much every girl that I ever took that to basically raped me after class. So good day 2 if you can do it. Problem with it is it's hard to get girls to go to it. It's a hard sell because it's not something girls are really comfortable with, but if you can get girls to do it, it's pretty on. But what are the elements of that day 2? Because let's look at theory, right? Let's not look at like one example or one little technique to take the girl to Krav Maga technique, right? What's the theory? What's going on there? Well, look, it's your world and you're inviting her into it. You're the leader. You're the one who's sure. You're the one who is the source of value and certainty and taking charge. It's also physical. There's physical contact going on. So important on a day 2, physical contact. You don't want that day 2 where you're sitting across the table from a girl for hours and hours and never touching her, and then you leave and then you're like, oh, let me suddenly get it all like super like physical right before I get her home so that I can fuck her, right? It's just too abrupt. You need that gradual transition, that slow burn. In fact, on a day 2, I typically will try and kiss the girl right away from the first moment if possible. At the very least, hug. At the very least. I am not starting a day 2 without physical contact, because that's fucking bullshit. If a girl came to meet you, she likes you, she's gonna touch you. The girl who won't hug you at the start of day 2 is not a girl you want to be out with anyway. She's a fucking stick up her ass, full ultra prude, and it's not going anywhere anyway. So you don't want that shit anyway. So get physical early on the date, right? Lead, take charge, be the source of reality. Ideally, if you're gonna go to a place for drinks, go to a place you've gone before. Tim used to have a place where he'd go over and over and over again, and the people recognized him, and they'd, like, the girls there would flirt with him in front of the date, which is massive social proof. Jeff has a place that he's been going for so long, like, they give him free beer, and just, like, you know, they almost joke with him that he works there because he's there so often. So find your place, find your niche. Again, bring the girl into your reality, don't go into hers, okay? So, what are you doing? You're inviting the girl to a place near you. In fact, what I would do, back when I lived super close to the bars I would go out to, I'd actually invite the girl to my place. I wouldn't tell her that though. I'd say, hey, I know this great bar, I'll text you an address, come meet me. And then I would text her the address of my apartment, okay? Wouldn't even bother with the address of the bar, just address of my apartment, okay? And then they get there on, like, the appointed time, and they say, wait, is this your apartment? And instead of apologizing, I say, oh, you're here, cool, I'll be right down. And I come get them. And then I invite them up into my apartment because I have to grab something. I left my wallet, or I used the restroom real fast, or I ran down because I wasn't dressed, I'd have to go put socks on, whatever. Whatever it is, I get them inside the apartment. Now, I don't try and have sex with them right then. I don't try and, like, you know, pull and pin them up against the wall and rape them in the first 5 minutes, because that's just silly. You'll get resistance. That's just ridiculous. But what I do is I let them get comfortable in my apartment. I go in the other room, I let them walk around, I leave a TV on so it's not boring, it's not, like, ominous. I leave a window open so they don't feel claustrophobic. Let them get comfortable in the apartment, because at the end of the night, I don't want them to feel like it's weird coming to my apartment. I want them to have that excuse of, oh, I can't come in, what is this bullshit, whatever. She's already been there. It's the same way that once your, like, lips graze with a girl, now you can make out with her. Once she's been in your apartment, she can't really object the same way later. So just get her in there, let her be comfortable, and let her leave. Don't even try and escalate there, just chill it out, let her be comfortable. Have confidence that you'll get it later, but get her into your place if you can. If you can't, you can't, it's fine, meet her at the place and then just walk her back later, but it's another little bit you can do. Similarly, if you're at drinks with a girl, don't sit across the table, sit next to her, all right? Sit somewhere you can touch her, sit somewhere where you can escalate. I'll be super awkward, right? I'll just, if we're seated across and it's not working out, I'll just stand up and be like, this isn't working. And I'll walk over, I'll sit next to her, like, that's better, right? Weird, awkward, socially uncalibrated, probably kind of, but you know what? I'd rather be weird and awkward for 10 seconds than not escalate for 45 minutes, all right? Have it in your mind that sex is going down on the date. Have it in your mind. Have it in your mind that not that it has to go down immediately, not that you have to be in a rush for it or anything, but just that sex is going down on a date. This is a sex date. It's not a no sex date. There's no such thing as a no sex date, because that's fucking bullshit, okay? You have sex on dates, that's what you do. That's what dates are for, right? That's why you got the girl alone in the first place, right? The reason why you got the number and settled on a date was because her friends were in the way or she had some logistic. Cool, you've dealt with the logistic, now it's time to fuck, okay? Now, you don't want to be that obvious about it, that blatant about it. You want to give the girl the experience. She wants to, like, have that build up. She wants to have the fun along the way, but realize that's what dates are for. Dates are not for proving yourself to a girl or showering gifts on her or whatever. They are for sex. That's why she's there. She already likes you. If she came out with you, she likes you, right? Act as if, act as such. The girl already fucking likes you, make it happen. Okay, other things for day 2. So I'm constantly escalating throughout the date, and then I bring her back. When I bring her back, I do not ask her to come in. Do not ask, lead, okay? Jeff has this phrase, he says, "Sco." It's not even let's go, it's just "Sco." And then he walks and he leads and the girl follows. And if the girl doesn't follow, it's fucking awkward. And he's like, what are you doing? "Sco," right? And he's assertive, and the girl will follow. Same thing when I'm walking into my place, right? I don't say, hey, would you like to come in? I keep talking, don't even make a big deal of it. Unlock the door as I'm talking, don't even leave a gap. Just talk, 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 unlock door, open, walk inside, keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. And she has a choice. She can stay outside awkwardly, or she can follow you in. And you know what? If she wants to stay outside awkwardly and make an excuse for it, she's gonna have to not only make the excuse and be awkward, she's also gonna have to interrupt you because you're already talking. She's gonna slow your roll. You just assume it. Make it super awkward. If she stays outside, you go, hey, don't be weird, come in. And then go inside, just lead, make it happen. Again, make it more awkward for her to not do what you want than to do what you want, okay? Now, get back to your place. Now what? Time to escalate, but not right away. Not right away. If you escalate right away, the girl might get uncomfortable. So leave it 5 or 10 minutes. Again, let her get comfortable in your place. You have all night. She's there on a date with you. She's giving you this time. She set aside the time for you. Trust it, and trust that she likes you, okay? Take your time, let her get comfortable. 10 minutes of waiting, 10 minutes of just like being chill with her at the start when she gets back to your place will save you hours, literally hours of last minute resistance. So be willing to make that minor sacrifice, which isn't really a sacrifice, okay? Oh, another quick word, alcohol on dates. Look, I'm a fan of it, even though I don't drink myself. Not because I want to get the girl drunk, not because she needs to be sloppy to have sex with me. I sleep with lots of girls sober, but because it gives her the excuse. Gives her that little bit of excuse, the plausible deniability that she can sleep with you and not have it feel slutty, right? So I do it personally. It's up to you whether you want to do it or not. I think it helps. It's just one more objection you can get out of the way. Like, it helps with the sluttiness, it helps with the objection. My entire day 2, I'm essentially trying to eliminate every objection step by step along the way. So I'll start saying all the things that they're gonna say to me later, right? You can only come in for a second, I have to get up early. This is going real fast for me, I don't know why I like you so much, we should really slow this down. I'll say all these things you wouldn't typically hear a guy say, but I say it because if I've said it first, they can't say it. Brings me to one other point. Quick word on getting them into your house or getting them back to your place in general. I told you just walk through the door, but in terms of getting it set up, it's a good idea to seed a lot of things throughout the date. Just mention cool things you have in your house, not braggy Ferrari type things. Cool, interesting things, like a cool video you can show them, or a cool picture, or something that expresses something about you. Just something that you can do as an activity together really quick, so there's a plausible reason. And then that way when you invite them up, be like, oh yeah, I just want to show you this thing, then I have to kick you right out. Get them inside. Just get to that next step. Same as with pulling a girl, just get to the next step. Don't worry about getting from A to Z, just get from A to B, B to C, C to D, and so on, all right? One little baby step at a time. That's how you do it. That's how you move it along. Okay, lastly, we're gonna talk about escalation, last minute resistance, that sort of thing. I'm gonna give you my 2 nuclear moves, the 2 moves that I absolutely love for dealing with last minute resistance. First of all, general procedure for last minute resistance, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, wash, rinse, repeat. Keep being persistent, keep pushing it forward, but be patient. Don't just push and let them get uncomfortable. Push to the point where you sense a little discomfort and then chill out, relax, let them get comfortable again, and push some more. Ideally, they should always be less comfortable when you stop escalating, because the lack of your contact, the lack of your attention should feel more uncomfortable to them than whatever touch you were doing. That's very, very important. That's very essential. Okay, so that's the general vibe, or general principle, I guess. But 2 little moves that I like to do. Number 1, take the girl's hands, take 2 in one hand and pin them up somewhere. Pin them up against the wall, behind her back, something like that. Gives you a free hand when you're escalating. It also, if she's gonna resist you, she's gonna resist with her other hand. So it lets you know when she's about to resist. So you can escalate. Right when she's about to resist, you can stop before she resists. So important, because that way she didn't stop you, she didn't say no, you stopped yourself. So instead of it building like nervousness on her part, it builds comfort and makes her think that you understand her. Makes her feel like you're this ideal lover that just knows exactly what she's feeling, and it enhances the experience massively for her, and it stops her from getting the hard no's along the way. Every no you get, no's not a big deal. No does not mean no, it means not yet, unlike what they told you in health class, all right? But what it actually is, it'll set you back a little bit. It'll make it take a little longer every time you get a no. So try and avoid the no's if you can, but don't worry about them if you get them, all right? So ideally you'll stop right before you get the no, but if you stop right after, not a big deal. But by holding the hand there, it will allow you to know when you're about to get resistance and to stop beforehand, and to be very, very calibrated as you're moving it forward. So that's one thing I really like. Also, as an aside, a lot of girls like having their hands pinned somewhere. They like being held somewhere. They like having the responsibility taken off their shoulders. They like being dominated. So it's a good move in and of itself for that reason. Okay, so that's nuclear move number 1. Nuclear move number 2, which I really, really love, is when you're escalating with a girl, there's this point I call the point of no return. It's the point where up to that point, if you were to just quit and then call her up later, you could probably get another date. After that point, if you called her up, you would not get another date unless you've had sex with her, because it's just gotten too close, it's too uncomfortable, and she knows if she sees you, she's just decided to fuck you. And so she feels a bit slutty about it, right? So she decided not to fuck you, not to have sex with you, and then she knows if she sees you, she's decided, so it's like she's wrong, she feels slutty, whatever. So you don't want to end up in that zone. There's this point of no return is here, maybe start a date, point of no return, sex over here. You don't want to end up in this middle area, in this point between the two. You want to end up either on the safe side of the point of no return, or you want to get all the way to sex. So what I'll do a lot of times, if I can sense that there's going to be resistance at that point, is I'll do like a bit of a freeze out at that point to make them really chase me and really like propel it through there. So what I'll do is say it's going really well, it's starting to get hot and heavy, but you're not really sure it's going to go down. I'll just look at the girl, like, hold that thought. And then I'll get up, literally get off the bed, go grab like some water for me and her, or like another glass of wine or whatever. Go chill out, make the drink, come back in a couple minutes, hand her the drink. Totally pleasant, polite, happy, very important, not butthurt, not resistant, nothing like that, just happy, fun vibe, hand her the drink. And then here's the big thing. Instead of sitting right back down and going back to what you were doing, you go sit on another chair across the room, or go sit on the other side of the bed away from her, and you take away that opportunity. You had the green light to escalate, and you didn't do it. It's gonna make her wonder. It's also gonna make her feel massively safe with you, right? Because you had this opportunity to escalate. You could have gone further, you had permission, and you didn't do it. It lets her know that you're not a needy guy. It lets her know that you're not a creepy guy that just wants sex for just because you've never had it, and you're not desperate, and you're not gonna like make her feel uncomfortable. You're willing to take your time, you're willing to enjoy the process, which is what she really wants to see. So you let this happen. Also, a lot of times she'll get insecure and she'll wonder what's wrong, and she'll even chase you, like, come back, what's wrong? Did I do something wrong? And now you have her. Now she's chasing you, and now she wants it more than you. And she'll be an active participant in the sex process as opposed to resistant, right? Which makes it much easier to get there. It'll also make the sex itself much better. It'll be much more of a collaborative, conversational, communicative experience between the two of you, as opposed to you forcing her and her saying no, and forcing and saying no, which isn't quite as good a vibe. And that'll actually lead to her staying around a lot of times, you know, after sex and wanting to like have a relationship with you. So I think it's super, super important to do that. So those are my 2 nuclear moves. So yeah, just to recap, how to do a day 2. Number 1, logistics are paramount. Make sure you are in a good logistical situation. Make sure it's a situation where sex can actually transpire. Like, look at who's driving, look at where you're going, look at the sex location, make sure it can happen. Super, super important. Number 2, get physical early and gradually escalate throughout the date, right? Now you can have calm periods, let her get comfortable. You don't be escalate to make her uncomfortable, but do get physical. Number 3, move her around a lot. Get her used to a bunch of different places, get her used to being in your company in different settings, and ideally move her to the places where you're going to want to take her later early on, like back to your place, or to places that are a little more nervous for her. Move her through them quickly, but at least she's been there, right? So she can't resist it in the same way. Next point, take away the objections. I think Julian calls it blocking the exits. Whatever objections you're gonna get, deal with them before you get them rather than after you get them. And as your experience with day 2s, you'll learn what these are. You know, I have to get up early, I'm not that kind of girl, I never kiss on the first date, yada, yada, yada. You'll learn what those are. You can deal with them preemptively by having the objection first, or by telling some story about that sort of objection, or how you think that sort of thing is lame or whatever, without being butthurt in a happy, fun way if you do it through the story route. It can't be like some girl fucked you over story, right? It has to be just, you know, some girl did some silly, lame thing and you just thought it was amusing. And you're like, whatever, it doesn't matter, but I just think it's just like a silly way of looking at the world, right? If you can do stories. Better is to just have the objection yourself, because that way you get the emotional impact on her as well, okay? So you're constantly doing this. You're constantly seeding reasons for her to come back to your place, seeding reasons to get back to the sex location, right? Constantly thinking 1 step ahead. Not 10 steps ahead, but at least 1 step ahead. Constantly leading, constantly moving somewhere, bringing her into your world. And then when you get back to your place, escalate, but take your time, and then use the 2 nuclear moves as necessary. All right. So that's a quick recap on how to do a day 2. Obviously, I've been on hundreds of these. I'm sure you've probably been on a lot of day 2s yourself. But the thing is, it's just important to have those fundamentals, and every little bit matters. Every little percentage point matters. I cannot emphasize to you enough how important being good at day 2s is going to be to your overall game. Because yes, you can pull a lot, and as you get really good, yeah, you'll pull more and more. But the fact of the matter is, the bread and butter, the easiest way to get laid on a consistent basis is to do day 2s and be good at them. I mean, when you get good, you could easily double, triple book day 2s if you wanted to, and get laid basically every night from it, okay? Just through running through numbers. Now, if you pull, that's great. That's more artistic, it's more of a masterful set, but just in terms of effectiveness in getting laid, being good at day 2s is an invaluable skill, all right?